Hello, everyone, and welcome to Intentional Excellence Elevate Your Life podcast. I'm your host, Candice Ruggiero. I'm a keynote speaker, podcast and live show host, aspiring author, educator, and entrepreneur. Thank you for joining me on this transformative journey where we highlight inspiring stories of resilience, purpose, and excellence to motivate you to live intentionally and elevate your life. This month, Purpose Driven Men Making a Difference has brought you inspiring stories from men who are not only intentional in their actions, but are also making a lasting difference in their communities and beyond. Our guest tonight is a perfect example of what it means to live with purpose, resilience, and authenticity. Dwayne Morton is not just an inspirational speaker. He is living proof of the human spirit's ability to overcome even the toughest challenges. He's a former international basketball player. He understands the critical role of mental performance in achieving greatness. However, his most profound journey began far beyond the court. Because for 18 years, Dwayne battled a misdiagnosed rare blood cancer while also surviving a police shooting. And these life-altering experiences only strengthened his faith, integrity, and authenticity. And today, Dwayne empowers athletes and high achievers to master their mindset, overcome adversity, and unlock their fullest potential. His message is clear. Obstacles don't define you, your mindset does. Dwayne, welcome to Intentional Excellence. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much, Candice, for having me. And so I want to thank your listeners. Very first thing, I'm a big believer in value your time. And so whether they're hearing this, on a recording in the morning, the afternoon, evening, or night, I just appreciate you giving me your time and giving me your platform, Candice. And so I just want to say thank you so much to those people and just show my first part of gratitude because I'm a very grateful person, but and then thank you for giving me this platform too to share.
Oh, please know that it's my pleasure because I just when I was reading through all the men that would be a possibility to guess, yours really stood out, and I'm just honored to have you in my show. Thank you, Dwayne. My pleasure. All right, so Dwayne, your story of resilience and purpose is incredibly inspiring. And I know our listeners will find so much value in hearing your journey. So let's start, okay?
Sure.
Let's talk about basketball. Okay. That is a defining force in your life. And Dwayne, as an international basketball player, you must have experienced incredible lessons about culture, discipline, and perseverance. Dwayne, how did your career on the court influence the decisions you've made in life? And what was the most impactful moment from your time as an international player?
Yeah, so Candice, to understand the impact of of playing basketball internationally, I feel like you have to go back to me as a small child. So at 4 years old, I actually learned how to be my persistence and resiliency came at that point. So at 4 years old, I was shooting at a 10-foot rim. So there wasn't where you could change the height on these basketball goals back then. And so my goal was just to throw the ball, hit the net. And then once I did that, then it was like, oh, my goal is to throw and hit the rim. And then, it just so happened, what if it does go in? Great, cool. So, and then it went to, let's try to make it. And then it went, as it went, and it started going in more and more and more, I fell in love with it. But I believe that's really where I learned my resiliency and also my persistence. And so the other part of it is that I want to stress to your viewers is I did not play my last 2 high school years. So I didn't play my junior or senior year in high school. So there really was no path for me to actually go overseas. And so I actually went through on a mission trip. And so I want to just stress that to people is I didn't even sometimes there was times where I didn't even believe that I should have been there.
So it wasn't planned at all.
It was not planned at all. It was against the plan, because your plan would be to play the rest of your high school ball, probably go to college for a year before you would get that opportunity. So that was one thing. The other thing is like with basketball, I taught myself visualization. And so with visualization, you get the confidence and experience from doing the actual the activity. And so for me, I took something that I learned from typing class. I taught myself visualization, and I became a really good typer. I would watch the TV, and I would see stuff like Coca-Cola or like, different type of brands, and I would type it with my hands. So I'd use the motor skills. I would close my eyes and visualize the words. And so I applied that to basketball probably in my junior year after I quit. And so the other aspect is my grandmother passed away. Okay. And so I quit basketball. I gave up the one thing I love. And so that's how I got on the mission trip. Was I got better and better, but then I just didn't play my last 2 years of high school.
Okay.
And so you asked what was the one defining moment from the trip. The trip actually gave me my core belief and my foundation for gratitude. And so when I'm going through these challenges, you'll understand way more because of the fact that you'll understand way more because of this one story. And this one story, it still breaks my heart to this day. I met this little 5-year-old boy, and that 5-year-old boy, he had not eaten in 3 days. And so I was just blown away. As a 19-year-old kid, I was trying to figure it out, but I was like, I've never had to go through a day without food.
Right.
At least it was there. And so I've always had those 3 essential items to me, food, water, and shelter. And so to me, that was just really heartbreaking. And so through that, I feel like that gave me that, like I said, that foundation for gratitude, or that core belief of gratitude.
Right.
And then it also allowed me, so when I faced the challenges, I knew other people went through worse. Like our nightmares are some other people's dreams. And like when you put it like that, and you realize the impact of what other people go through, some of our challenges are really a cakewalk. Yes. And so I applied that to when I hurt my knee and I lost my career. Same thing. I was like, other people have it worse. And whether that was by guilt or whatever, it doesn't matter to me. It was what helped me push through.
And now I understand why your core belief is based on gratitude. Why? You're 19 years old and you're traveling as an international basketball player. Dwayne, looking at the teenagers right now at 18, 19, what are they doing? Most of them. Yes, they're busy in college. Some are probably working here. Some are probably just home not doing anything. But you are actually living a life, a good life. And just imagine the skills that you're learning at such a young age of 18, 19. You are probably trying to learn how to adapt to the culture from wherever you're going, or even learn how to communicate with the people. And that's not an easy task. And the fact that you were able to relate with that 5-year-old boy, I can't believe that, like I said, that gratitude is your core, because like we're so lucky here in America that most of us are being provided for with the basic needs. But then back there in some of the less fortunate countries, it's just sad that those 3 basic cores are not even met. And for you to have that empathy at such a young age really speaks volume. And I think that's a reason why you're here right now, because of those experiences that you actually went through at such a young age. By the way, I just want to say congratulations, because that's a big achievement. Being considered an international basketball player at such a young age, just want to say congratulations. That's an awesome accomplishment.
So thank you. I appreciate it. And so that's the thing is, when I was in my 20s, I would go to conferences and things like that, and they would be like, who here accomplished their dream? And I raised my hand because my whole dream was just to play past high school.
Which
There
you
was just the
did.
path was closed off, but you would be very surprised all the people that were like, how did you accomplish your dream? And these people were like keynote speakers and things like that, these conferences, and they just couldn't understand how a young kid would be able, a young man, not I wasn't a young kid, but I feel like sometimes we limit our dreams. And one of the things, because I acquired my dream, is I want other people to feel that satisfaction of accomplishing their dream. I feel like I wish there was just more people that were able to accomplish their dream, because then they would be like, oh, I want to go do to accomplish another dream.
Yes. I like that because you already met something, like a certain goal in your life. So what's your next move? To keep going higher, to keep achieving more. And I guess that's what happened to you. And I want to hear more about the story. Also, I just want to reflect on what you said. I've been an educator for 30 years, and I remember for a few years I was a teacher for pre-K, which is about that same time that you were trying to practice your shooting skills.
Right.
And that one alone, I just simply want to reflect that no wonder you're resilient right now, because looking at my students before, they were trying to build blocks. They were trying to probably do some little role play in school, while you're out there trying your best to really try to shoot. And you had the goal. At such a young age, you had the goal to shoot this far and then that far, until eventually, your skills just started getting better. And again, another evidence of how amazing your skills are at such a young age. And no wonder you had this achievement at such a young age, which is traveling the world.
So, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And so, to me, it's definitely not lost on me, because the thing is there was better players when I was growing up. There was absolutely, like, when I was playing, I was good, and then I was like, I was never the best. I was good, and then I was like one of the the bench warmers. So I was like, it definitely was not what what people would think, that someone who accomplished what I did. And honestly, even at the age of 18, 19, I still had players around me who I felt were better. And so sometimes when I run into them and I've told them what I did, and they're like, how did you do it? Well, I did it because I was ready for the opportunity. And that's the one thing I will tell people is I know people who got opportunities and they weren't ready. They were too busy doing other stuff.
Yes.
So for me, when opportunity arose, I took it, but I was prepared. And so that's also part of my philosophy of show up to win, is show up with intention.
Oh, we're going to go back to that, what you just said, show up to win. I'm sure that's relevant.
It definitely will come back in later on, but just to let you know, like, to put that in, it was, I've always had that. And there was, so I believe in when we're being educated in life, but as a kid, like, so I'll go ahead and tell you, my mom and my aunt Donna always told me I was special. Okay. They always told me. But guess what? I forgot.
You forgot that they were reminding you.
I forgot the reminder of that I was special. I let the classmates take that away. I let the people who, this is the other point of dreaming. And this is something that I really, really reinforce on my 6-year-old niece. Okay. Is like, people want to take like her superhero pose away from her. And I'm like, dude, she's a kid. She's supposed to be doing things like that.
She's allowed to have that.
Right. And so the problem with education system in America is that because the teacher or someone of the educator part did not accomplish something because they were held back, they want to hold back too. And that's with parents. That's with grandparents, like with anybody. They don't allow the kids to dream, and then when they dream, they say you can't have that. And I'm one of those people. I encourage you, if you think you're going to be the next president, please go do it. You probably will do a better job. It's that passion part that most people miss. Think about if we had someone who's a great singer and then
Right.
they had all this talent, but yet someone told them you don't want to sing out in public because people will judge you because their mom or dad had the same thing and they had their fear. That's how we pass our fear on to other
Yes.
people.
Yes.
And like
Yes.
I have my own fear, but I also set it aside to accomplish what I want.
Right. Right.
I'm aware of it. And so I feel like that was one of the things I want to pass on to so I have a 6-year-old niece and I have a 14-year-old niece. And they're completely different. They're completely different. One's fearless, one's not. One is full of fear. And also the younger one, because she was involved in the incident that we'll be talking about later, I'm having to make sure that she's very reinforced then of safety.
Okay, so let me reflect on what you just said about not developing the passion and the dream of young kids. And you know what? I'm an educator myself, 30 years, right? And a lot of educators are losing or missing for the past few years is this one, really connecting with their students, really developing their passion, really developing their skills and strength. Yes, there's so many changes in the educational system nowadays. Yes, the teachers are burnt out. Yes, the demands are great. As a teacher, I just wanted to share with you that what we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis, on top of the shooting, fear now of teachers is great. But still, teachers need to remember the why. Why are you teaching in the first place? And the reason for that is you have a big role on these kids to develop who they are. And if who they are is being a superhero, because like at 6 years old, they still think that superheroes are real, right? It could be like, I really want to be a superhero, or it could be like, I want to be strong and brave. You know what I mean? No, whatever you think of when you think about superhero. And teachers need to accept that. Just accept your students, get to know them and develop them. It's sad that teachers sometimes don't do that, but there are still some teachers who know the reason why they're teaching in the first place.
Right.
And
So
Yeah,
one thing I want to say is I wasn't saying that to all teachers because there's
yes,
some
I
really
understand.
amazing teachers, but there's
Yes.
some that are
yeah.
just teachers to be off in the summer. There's people that should not be in the education system.
Oh,
And
yes, I agree with
we
you.
gotta sift those people out because they are dream killers. They are. They also are people who. Here's the thing: is like I know a friend of mine who she's an amazing teacher.
Okay.
She always wanted to be a teacher, though. It was her dream. Like, and I look at it the same as me playing international basketball.
Oh, yes.
I see it the same, and that's the thing is if somebody wants to be a policeman, like be a policeman. I
Yes.
really feel like you shouldn't have to compare. Like if you accomplish your dream, you accomplish your dream. That's the thing is like
yes. And then it's just sad. Like even me as a teacher, like sometimes I would look at, because I'm a teacher mentor and then I had admin job. So sometimes I like, oh my gosh, like, students' lives depend on you. So why? Where's your passion? Where's your why? It's just, same thing as maybe cops or nurses. Some people are meant to be there. Some people are just there for the job. And, that's sad because being a teacher is such a powerful influence on kids. They can either break you or make you. So
it's the strongest influence beside parents.
Yes,
it's
I
the
agree
strongest influence beside parents. And like I've been really blessed to have some really good teachers. I had some teachers that really allowed me to think about what I was doing and what I wanted. And I appreciate them so much. And so it's the Robert Frost poem for me. It's like
I love
the two roads, right? The two roads. For
that.
me, I have always taken the most difficult path. The reason I've taken the most difficult path is because I do not want what everyone else is getting.
You like challenges.
It's not just the challenges. It is like your path is smooth. I don't need to. if I to get what I want, I have to go to a different path.
Yes.
And I feel like that's one of the things is if you want to go down that journey, you have to be able to be resilient. You also have to be able to have thicker skin.
Right.
And so
stepping out of your comfort zone. If you're doing the same thing over and over again, things are easy for you, then how are you going to get better when you're not challenged mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually? You know what I mean? You need to always think how you can improve yourself. And that's what you said. Like, you always go to this path because you want to challenge yourself, and that's normal. As teachers, I need to make sure that my students are always challenged on a day-to-day basis. That's how I know that I am building the resilience, just like what we're talking about. Right?
One thing about the education system, and this is not just the education system, this is actually what we expect kids to be able to do, is why do we expect 8, 9, 10-year-old kids to be able to get out in front of class and say stuff when the working class people are scared to death? Probably 95% of them aren't able to get in front of their colleagues and like address, and say something. So I feel like there's this part where we're equipping these kids to be better, but we got to reinforce that you have to be outside of your comfort zone at some point. And I feel like when I was taught and I had to get up in front of class, like I didn't like it.
Right.
Right? Like I didn't even want to be a speaker, Candice. I'm just letting you know. At 1920, people were telling me you should be a speaker. You should be a speaker. And I was like, oh, heck no. Like, I don't want the spotlight. And so that's the other part of me was I didn't want the spotlight. I'm not a spotlight person. And so for me to do this right now is all purpose driven. And so, so I just want to let you know, like, I have such a strong purpose that I'm outside of my comfort zone.
You have such a purpose-driven attitude. That's why you're here, because that's the name of my series this January, Purpose-Driven.
Right.
And, wow. I mean, I learned so much from you, like how you just envision future. And I like it how anyone at such a young age, 4 years old, you were 18, just dreaming or just like achieving something that could have been hard for that age. And you're a true example that it can be possible. It can be impossible. If you put your heart and mind into anything, nothing is impossible. And I'm going to go back to what you said. You gotta be ready. Because when opportunities come to you, handed to you, even if it's right in front of you, if you are not ready, you're not. I don't think you're ever going to accept it. And opportunities come in the least moments. You don't know. It's just going to come. So you have to be ready for whatever comes your way. If you want change in your life or if you want success. And I just want to highlight what you just said. Yep. Be ready. If
one
you
other
want
thing I want to say is ask people. Ask for what you want. Ask for what you want. Like, Candice, if I was a aspiring teacher and I saw you on the street, I should ask you, how do I get into teaching to be like you and to be into like that? I feel like that's one of the biggest problems that isn't going
people
on.
Are so prideful. People are so they think asking is a weakness.
No, it's actually a superpower. It's just ask and tell what you want. There's a young person that I mentor in basketball, and I asked him what he wanted, and he was like, he told me, and I said, why don't you just tell me that rather than me have to ask you? Because most people won't take the initiative to ask you. Right. And I was like, if you want things in your life like this, you have to tell someone. Right. And also with the law of attraction, that really works really well when you put it out there in your words and you put out your purpose and the meaning of those words.
Well, I think in order for someone to be able to be comfortable in asking, we have to develop their self-confidence, their self-worth, their just in a personal development, because sometimes they don't ask because they could be shy, or they don't trust themselves, or they know they're not good enough. That's why they don't even ask.
Candice, so why isn't personal development something that we teach in education?
It is part of education.
It is. I meant like the way that how we do it. That's all I was saying is if we made it.
Can I be honest with you? Why? Mm-hmm. Some teachers do, but you know why a lot of teachers, or a lot in the education system, why that's being neglected sometimes? It's because of the demands of the school, the testing, there's just too much changes on a daily basis. They want kids to do this, to do that they're losing on the basic skills, which is personal development. Right. Scores always matter.
I was just curious, like how we don't, there's not someone that is teaching some Jim Rohn stuff or something. Like, I just feel like that would be something in high school that would be very beneficial for some of these kids.
Right. Well, can I just share with you that I have this tour? It's called the Heart of Teaching Tour, wherein I go to schools and speak to the teachers. Do you know what I talk about? Personal development, empowering teachers, finding their why, and helping them fight burnout, because teachers are burnt out because of all the expectations, because of all the changes and all the fear, because of the shooting. So I go to schools just empowering them. So hopefully they get empowered and they share it with their students.
So I love that.
That ripple effect.
That, and I love that, and I was going to tell you, like, thank you so much for doing that, and to empower these teachers to be better. I mean, and so I'm just one of those type people, like, when I see an issue or I see a problem, I'm going to try to address it. And I know that there's like other things that I know there's other things that bring these issues apart, and like you have to get to that root issue. I just was curious, why we don't teach it, especially in high school. I feel like that and some like financial advice would really set the kids up for more success than failure.
Especially in high school, because when they reach that sensitive age, that's where you experience some mental illness. That's where there's a possibility of depression or anxiety. And you know what? Can I share with you what's been going on? Suicide. A lot of kids, a lot of teenagers resort to suicide. And this is not just happening in like a certain state. This is across America, or maybe even globally, because these kids are not being taught, or maybe they don't have that skills of the building resilience, overcoming adversity. It's always grade, it's always testing, that there's no more, they lack the emotional stability because it's not really taught to them. So what do? They resort to harming themselves, or they go into depression and they resort to medications or no medications. And it's sad. It's really sad what's happening in our society nowadays.
So one thing I want to say, I just want to make it perfectly clear, because you brought up suicide. I get this all the time, is like, Dwayne, you've went through all these challenges and stuff. Like, were you suicidal ever? I've never been suicidal. I feel like I just want to be extremely open, transparent, vulnerable. And like, it wasn't something that I felt like, it was something that I went through. What I want to say is, I know people go through it. I've lost friends to suicide. I feel like it's extremely sad. I feel like I just couldn't. I don't think I've ever would feel that hopeless, because of like, I'm a spiritual person. I'm a Christian, but also I feel like with that little boy that I met, I feel like I would.
You're still luckier.
Exactly. And so I feel that if some things were different with a lot of them, it probably wouldn't happen that way. And so I just wanted to say, if there is somebody that is going through that, like, there is help, get help. Yes. And then better yourself, because like, you deserve to be here. You deserve more. That's really what I want to say. When you start talking suicide, I'm like, I have to try to do something, because I'm such a loving and giving and caring person, but I love with grace. And so I feel like that's part of the problem too, is that when some people get suicidal, they don't realize that this is where you're supposed to be finding that spiritual side.
Right. And all they need to, and that's when I'm going to go back to what you said. Ask Ask for help. Talk to someone. Because if you keep all your problems inside of you, then there's a tendency for you to resort to suicide. It's just important to be able to communicate, have someone to relate with and to communicate. And I know you mentioned suicide, that you're not the type of person who would resort to that. But moving on, I want the viewers to know that Dwayne went through more. Okay, and we're gonna talk about that right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
I
why when
appreciate
he
you saying that.
mentioned, that's why he mentioned, like, I would never resort to suicide, because Dwayne went through a lot. So let's talk about that. So Dwayne, living with a rare blood cancer that went misdiagnosed for 18 years it's a great deal of time to endure such uncertainty. Dwayne, what was the most challenging aspect of that journey, and how did you find the strength to keep going?
Yeah, so this is a great question. And
Yeah,
so I want to think about the journey of not knowing I was misdiagnosed. Like, so when I was diagnosed, like, just to kind of give you an idea, it was an absolute struggle, but I was very fatigued. I felt like someone who had the flu.
Dwayne, sorry to interrupt you. How old were you?
Oh, yeah. So I was 29 years old.
Okay.
And so I was trying to figure things out. I had I had been in college and I was studying sports psychology. I actually moved to Louisville, Kentucky. I was trying to figure things out. Like, I was still trying to figure out, hey, what do I want? I was dating and, like, is this something that I wanted? There was just these different aspects of life that we go through about that age, and really just experimenting and being like, hey, I want this. How do I get it?
Right,
and so for me, it was like, I had put off my life when I say I put off my life, I was like, there was things that I was going through that I was like, well, I have time, so I can just figure this out now, or wait later, punt the ball. And so when I got diagnosed officially, I was like, oh, I don't have this time. So initially I was given 5 years. And so I was given 5 years, and at 5 years I was like, okay,
How can you even live knowing that you're given 5 years?
Yeah. And also think about it from an athlete, or like my mindset was like an athlete. So I'm thinking of the clock running down.
Right,
so initially I was given 5 years. Later on, I talked to a physician who was a friend of mine, and he said, man, it's more like 15. He's like, I think you got 15. You've got this a lot younger. The other thing is, I got diagnosed with, it was a rare blood disease that turns into a blood cancer. It was also less than 200,000 people globally that had it.
Okay.
So there wasn't a lot of information. It's a lot more diagnosed now.
Okay.
But how we found out that I had it, or the symptoms of it, was I couldn't get up 3 flights of stairs. And I knew something was wrong because the day before I ran 2 miles.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, there's an issue here, but like, I didn't even feel like I met the parameters for a long time. And so the first 4 or 5 years, I was really trying to do whatever I could to reverse it. Like, I was trying to do whatever I could to beat it. And finally, even someone with my mindset, I was like, oh, maybe I just need to be content. And so just to let you know, there's an experience in here that, like, it actually taught me entrepreneurship.
Okay.
And so, I actually was working at a very big insurance company, and I was working in an office job when I got diagnosed, and I worked for 4 years, but I had missed so much time. I actually got stretchered out of the office one day. I thought I was having a heart attack or a stroke, and ended up getting fired a day later. And that's why when I tell people, when I talk about entrepreneurship, I'm like, I am proof that, like, you are just a number. You are absolutely just a number. There is no job security. This isn't like how my grandpa, when he was able to work so many years, for my grandpa, he worked at the Navy, and so he retired through the Navy. But I'm just saying, like, back then you could work 20 hours with a company, not 20 hours, 20 years for a company, and, they gave you a watch. They did all these wonderful things, but, like, you knew security-wise you had that job. That is not relevant in today's society.
No.
So it allowed me to understand entrepreneurship. It allowed me to understand there has to be more. Now, my parents had a business. I was very fortunate growing up. My parents were self-employed, and so I knew about business. I learned it through. I learned it through my mom and my dad, and so I learned the office stuff through my mom. I learned the hard work ethic through my dad, and so the entrepreneur journey. I was so fortunate. I met one of my first mentors, and my first mentor was mentored by Jim Rohn.
Okay.
And so when I started like going, so just to let you know, this is how strong of a mindset. If you're looking back from it, okay. I didn't have an able body, so I had to go find able bodies. So I found network marketing. Network marketing has where you create a team and you actually are able to lead, and so that's what I did. And so some of my friends that saw me like they didn't understand why I was doing certain things like that, but they couldn't understand that like. I'm physically not healthy. I need to find healthy people, right? Right. So it makes so I was playing chess, everyone else was playing checkers, and they thought that their mindset was better, right? Because they were like, poor Dwayne, like he's got diagnosed with this. Here's the thing: I was planning for a future, and I had none.
How could you when every day you're probably worrying about what's going to be next, what's going to happen the next day. You know what I mean? Right. And so, same thing. I decided when I got diagnosed, I wasn't going to have a wife and kids because I didn't want anyone to carry my burden. And so as you're hearing these stories, there's these things that happen and it's like, they're because very of the misdiagnosis. Yes. Yeah. Yes. And remember, we're just looking at it from just being diagnosed. I was given a friend of mine owned a mortgage broker company. He asked me to be a loan originator. I thought it was one of the greatest. It was going to be the greatest opportunity I felt. I feel like this is where I'm going to make it. This is where, he knows I have this issue. I passed my exam, and I will tell you right now, this test gets compared to the bar. And I promise it's one of the most difficult tests I've ever taken. I passed it. It's one of my favorite accomplishments outside of basketball is to pass that test. And so I only stayed in that industry for a year because I got sick. And when I got sick, I was like, we need to really look at like going on disability or something. I have 15 years. Okay. So I was thinking 2021 is going to be it. Like I'm done. So this was like 2015, 16. And I was like, okay, we're getting at the end part. Things are getting more difficult. I need to be just content. So you were feeling sick. You thought it was it because you were misdiagnosed. So you thought it was it. Right. And so here's the thing is, you keep saying misdiagnosed. I didn't know I was misdiagnosed, right? I mean, yes. No. I just want to experiencing it's part of it. Right. Oh, wow. And so that's the thing is like, this is where I really created what is now Dwayne's daily plan of attack. And like, I'll lead with this because I feel like this is what made me go through what I went through and me able to go through it. So, okay, now let's talk about how did you find out you were misdiagnosed? So that's going to be a little bit later. I want to tell this because I feel like this is actually going to show you how I went through the diagnosis part. Okay, Candice? Okay, so I've named this now Dwayne's daily plan of attack. But my first thing I did every day was thank God just for waking me up. So my first step was gratitude. Okay. My number 2 step was because look, I played a lot of basketball. I was beat up. I also didn't feel good at the time. So the second thing I did that day was stretch. I stretched in bed. Okay. And so my number 3 thing, and there was times that I didn't do this very well, and it wasn't until later on that I figured this out. But the number 3 step is just movement. And so I take my I've had knee surgeries on both knees, and so my very first 2 steps were like I don't know if these, let's just make sure the knees are good. And so the rest of the day, I take it with that mentality, left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot, right? Wow. And so even when I was sick, I still had this mindset.
I can't focus on the past because I'll be depressed.
Right.
No one runs a race looking backwards because you're not going to go anywhere. Same thing. I definitely did not know my destination. I thought my destination
Yes.
probably was going to be death.
Yes.
And so I wasn't really paying too much attention to it. And so the secret sauce is the present. And so the
Yes.
present is the gift, right? And so I bring this to you because this is
What
kind of
kept
where
you
I
going.
stopped at. This is actually kind of where I stopped at
Okay.
during that period. But then there's the fourth step, and that's called adaptability. And I take a runner's mentality approach throughout the day. And so whenever there was stuff that happened life-wise, I was able to swerve. So if there was a pothole, so life is going to throw you all kinds of obstacles.
Right.
And so you have to be mindful those things are coming. You don't have to always be ready, though. You just need to swerve and know that things will get better. Now,
Right.
when I was diagnosed, it was like I swerved. It was slow. And that's why when I tell people all the time on this journey, I only started mile 2 because I really was almost walking this whole journey until this point in 2024. And so I just wanted to share that part because I feel like that was where I finally, that's where I learned it. The other thing is when you learn something and you apply it, you get through things a lot smoother.
Right.
And so I believe that's why I'm here today, because every day I moved. I moved. Whether I read a book, I read an audio book, I got up and played PlayStation or Xbox at the time. I moved. And so, going into the next part of my journey with the shooting, and I'll let you lead it, but the question to it, but that's where I was. Like, I was just living to know that I was going to die.
Right. Dwayne, I'm so sorry for what you've gone through. I really, really can't imagine the agony and the pain and more of the mental stress that you had to deal with. And I'm just proud that you, like, despite that, you still had your steps that you did on a daily basis to keep you going. And not everybody, that's still part of your resiliency. Not everybody will have that. I can just picture people who are undergoing what you went through, maybe just laying on bed for most of the time, giving up or not doing anything, but at least you had your steps, you had something to look forward to on a day-to-day basis.
Candice, the thing is there was days where I just was like, if I move, I'm good. If I just move,
wow.
If I go to the bathroom, if I go get a drink of OJ, like, I'm good. Like, I've done something today. I looked at it as one accomplishment a day. And because as you know, if you're consistent doing one thing,
yes,
that's when you make these big changes.
Right.
My body would not allow me to make these big changes.
Wow. So people need to appreciate what they have on a daily basis, being able to walk, being able to communicate, being able to do things on like a regular basis, because not everybody has that, chance.
When's the last time you smelled a rose?
Right.
When's the last time you heard a bird chirp? When's the last time you saw a bird, right? And so those are the things we take for granted all the time. And I took them for granted and that's one thing, like, now I don't take my senses granted, because I know at any time one of those things could be taken away.
And then I'm going to go back to your core belief, gratitude. People need to be grateful for what they have. It might not be riches or wealth, but the fact that you're healthy, you're living a normal life, you go to work every day, there's no limitations because you have no health crisis or you don't have any limitations. Just be grateful on a daily basis for what you have. If there's one thing that you can learn from our conversation right now, what they can learn from you is just be grateful. Be grateful. Because we don't know how some people are going through with their life. Yeah. I just wanted to share with you, something like that happened to my family. It didn't really happen to me, but it directly happened to a very important family member. So that's also the reason why when I saw that you wrote when you messaged me about like this is your story, I'm like, this is something that I can relate with, because I always like having guests wherein people can relate with you in some way. So you see, Wayne, this really resonated deeply with me, because like my late husband, who passed away 2023, experienced a similar situation. So for years he endured this debilitating headaches. All right, for years. Like after seeing one specialist, we were told that he had temporal arthritis. Okay, so it's like arthritis here on the temple, and this is a condition that's really not common for someone his age. At that time, he was probably what, 30, 44 or 43 when he started having these headaches. So he was treated with heavy prednisone. And as his pain persisted, the dosage kept increasing. That was the only thing that was working. On top of that, my husband had a massive heart attack at the age of 37. So without medications, he wouldn't function on a daily basis. So he had the temporal arthritis with prednisone on top of his medications. So eventually, the high steroid dosage really took a toll on his body. So it came to a point wherein they had to stop and wean off, because he couldn't go any higher. But the thing is, it was still painful. We were weaning off from that. Maybe like 10 years he was on prednisone. But by the time it was weaned off, it was still painful. So that's when we decided to go to Boston from New York, just to get more opinion. And that's when we found out that he didn't have temporal arthritis. But it was too late. The misdiagnosis already had affected his health. And on top of the, and I think that's also the reason why, I think his body gave in. So at the age of 57, body said, too much. So that's why maybe the reason why he passed away. So I can really empathize with the pain and frustration that misdiagnosis brings. Yes, it didn't happen to me, but the family also gets affected. And I saw how my husband's mental, emotional, and just, you are moving. My husband came to a point wherein he kind of lost his hope. He lost his, he was just so sad. Depression got to him, and just like every day was like difficult. Every day for him was so hard, like just standing up and moving. We stopped traveling. He stopped just doing normal things. So I truly understand how it truly changes you as a person and test your strength in ways that you can never imagine. So again, I apologize for what you went through.
No,
and I'm just so glad that you are fine now. I
appreciate that. I'm really sorry about your late husband. One thing I wanted to tell people, like some people I think I've said it on one other podcast, but like they were checking me for narcolepsy. I was taking a narcoleptic drug. And for people who are at home that aren't familiar with narcolepsy, it's where you fall asleep and just doing, regular everyday tasks. But if I would have been diagnosed with...
you were taking you were taking
I was taking a narcolepsy type drug, yes.
So it was making you sleep?
No, it wasn't making it. So
it was
narcolepsy,
making you...
Right. So narcolepsy is when you fall asleep, like you could just fall asleep doing anything. And so I would actually have lost my license if I had been diagnosed with narcolepsy. I actually have a friend of mine.
So were you driving? Could you drive?
I was driving, but I wasn't falling asleep. It's a stimulant. So it's a stimulant. The drug it's what we give our Air Force pilots when they go on a bombing or like a long 32 hours, 36 hours
to wake up. Yeah, okay.
To wake up, yes.
Okay.
And so I'm just letting you know,
like a stimulant.
Yes, it was a stimulant, and that's what they were giving me. And so there was all kinds of stuff that they were. I went through depression. I went through all kinds of things. I did talk therapy, and talk therapy for me at that point was actually pretty good. It actually worked. And so we'll talk about
talk therapy for some of the viewers.
Yeah, so talk therapy is more like where you go and talk to a psychologist. They kind of open up of like what you're going through. And so, at this point, it actually was very helpful.
Okay.
Dealing with the shooting, it was not helpful. It actually made things worse. But I'm a big proponent that if you should talk to someone. Okay. And then if you realize that, like, hey, it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. Go find other healing modalities. There's tons. And so, yeah, I just wanted to share that because I feel like it was relevant because
yes.
Most people just think, oh, well, he just had the blood cancer. So I did not take any chemo. I did not take any type of pharmaceuticals because it would have killed me. I did not have this, and this is what you'll find out later on.
Good thing you didn't do it.
Right. And so I'm very, very grateful. And so that's also why I have this feeling that I'm divinely protected.
Yes.
I'm divinely protected.
Because what's your initial reaction when you have that? Okay, you have to go through chemotherapy or radiation. Good thing it wasn't offered to you or you didn't accept.
Right. So I wasn't offered it. So the type of stuff I had, it was all about allowing your blood count to go down. Okay. So all I did was basically bloodletting. It was phlebotomies, but I was doing them so often that it just would, that took a toll for me too. So, okay. It's just one of those things. Like I went through it, I had to go through it, and that's okay. And that's the other thing is I'm not even upset with any of the doctors and stuff like that. I don't hold them like, I don't feel like they were personally malicious. I feel like they just made a mistake.
Okay. So you think it's an honest mistake? It is, of course. I know, but that's a big mistake. That's a right. Big
I just don't. I want the listeners, the viewers, to understand that like I'm not a vengeful person.
Nice.
I believe in forgiveness. Like wow. We need to have forgiveness. And guess what? If I forgive and the other person doesn't care, it doesn't matter. It sets me free.
You have such a kind heart. You know what? And I think everything happens for a reason.
Yeah. So here's the thing, Candice. Like, if we would have talked to me maybe 5-6 years ago, I probably would have just told you, like, I didn't care, but it really was just I had to have a protection part. I had to have a shield. And that's what most people are going to say when they go through things like this is like, I don't want to talk about it. Right. And lucky for me is I found healing modalities that allow me to be able to talk about it, and I'm good. But okay. The next story about the shooting is going to tie all this stuff together though for the listeners.
I can't wait. So for everyone there, I wanted to share also that Dwayne had this experience surviving a police shooting. For me, it's unimaginable for most, I'm sure. Dwayne, how did that event transform your outlook on life, your faith, and your resilience? And what lessons did it teach you about overcoming adversity?
So that was actually more difficult than the diagnosis. I'll go ahead and tell you. So I had my 3-year-old niece in the back seat. So I felt as a
when is this? Let's share it with the audience. When did this happen? Yeah, so we're looking at the timeline.
Yes. So it's May 16th, 2022. So it'll be 3 years coming up. And so
so this was before you found out that you didn't have it. Correct.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes. All right. So that's the thing.
Going through something. You were still going through something.
Yes,
okay.
I was going through something, and then, so I always tell people, life happens, and sometimes you get punched in the face. I got punched in the face, and I was already kicked in the gut, and I feel like, I think somebody knocked me out on this one. I'm not really sure, and, I just had to wake up, but truly, I just want your viewers to understand from this point. This was a tragic police shooting. This wasn't, yes. So a criminal was checked, searched, I'm sorry, supposedly searched. He wasn't searched. He was actually detained. The criminal had a hidden gun in his waistband. He had a knife that was attached to a rope around his neck. So somehow this guy got detained and arrested by not having... He was actually being questioned by the police officers. Police officers took him out, and he was smoking a cigarette. The criminal took a hidden gun out of his waistband, shot a police officer point blank, killed the police officer. And so the other part of this, Candice, is All of my friends were friends with that guy that tragically lost his life.
The criminal or the police?
No, the police officer that died, yes, that day. And so I just want people to understand, like, that point is never lost on me, that someone lost their life that shouldn't have lost their life.
Right.
Like, he was murdered, and he had a wife and he had 2 kids. And so I just want to make sure everyone is just very understanding of, like, when I talk about this and I talk about with the type of heart I have with this is like, it's because of that man right there, that lost his life and his family. So I'm driving to get my niece ice cream that day.
Okay.
And so I drive by the police station as this encounter happens. There's a bullet that comes out and it hits the truck. And so I want to share this with your listeners is, so you have a roof and where the bed is, and then there's a piece of metal that goes right here. And so that's called a C-pillar. That's what that bullet hit that day. If it would have been an eighth of an inch to the left, it would have killed me. If it would have been an eighth of an inch to the right, it would have hit my little niece, who's 3 years old at the time. And so I also want to bring in another layer of this. A couple weeks prior before that, I have an SUV. And my SUV was having tire pressure issues, and I got stranded a couple of times. So just to let you know, so I started driving my dad's truck.
So you had your own car, yeah.
Right. So I was driving my father's truck. If I'd been driving my SUV, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so this truck saved me, but like, what is the other ironic part of it is, like, my dad had told me 2 days later, he was like, "Why are you driving my truck all the time?" And I was like, "I'll put gas in it, it'll be fine." And he was like, he just kind of was like, "Hey, I just would rather you not drive my new truck," And so that day, my little niece actually asked me to drive the black SUV. And I was like, no, let's just take the truck. And so so all of these things, like, were choices and decisions that I made that make it even more of a crazy story.
Yes.
Right.
Like meant to be, like it's meant to happen.
And so the other part of this story is, whenever the shooting happened, I ducked down and I saw a bright white light that day. I never told anybody, and I'll tell that part later on. So hold on to that. It's like this bright white light. I didn't tell anyone. And so when I tell people I'm divinely protected, I really am. I mean, it's because there is so much to this story. So the other part, Candice, is I was dealing with survivor's guilt and PTSD after this. My friends lost a friend of theirs.
Yes, yes.
And so they thought I was okay because I was alive. And I was freaking out.
Of course.
I couldn't sleep. The PTSD was so bad, I couldn't sleep. The other thing is I talked to a friend of mine who's done tours in Iraq, and he's like, I was like, surely he knew. And I was like, how did it feel to be shot at? Like, I'm just trying to find someone I could talk to. He's like, I've never been shot at, dude.
Oh my gosh.
And so it sets up this wonderful comeback story that I'm sure you're going to have got like a really great question to ask me about.
Yeah, I mean, that's such a defining moment. Like a defining moment like that can really just make you or break you, and it's gonna change you. Like what you said, you had to go through this PTSD, and I'm glad, Dwayne, that this experience gave you a second chance at life, and and it allows you to at least fulfill your mission. You're still here. At that point, I believe that what you said, God said it wasn't your time because you had a purpose to fulfill. And I'm just
I wouldn't have got to know you. I mean, just think about it.
I wouldn't be here sharing this story and making an impact on whatever you're doing right now. Talk to me about the misdiagnosis, because now you had to go through the shooting and you're still dealing with, feeling sick, that you think you're close to that 15-year time. So what's going on right now at this time? At that time, what was going on with you?
Oh, I was freaking out. And the reason I was freaking out is because I knew I was only supposed to have 15 years. And so the shooting happened.
That was the mark. You're closer to the mark.
Well, no, I'm actually past the mark.
Oh, past the mark. Okay.
Yes. So the 15-year mark was 2021. The shooting happened in 2022, and I was freaking out because I'm like, why did God save me here? Like, I don't get it. Like, do I deserve to be saved? Like, that was the other part of this PTSD survivor's guilt. That was the survivor guilt part. And so this is one of those things where it's just like God takes control.
Yeah.
And so this misdiagnosis happens. And then it's
tell
like,
us about it. Tell us about it. How did you find out?
So
I'm curious.
Yeah. So this is the wildest thing is looking back. And so it's coming up in almost a year right now. I've got I think it's like 2 months.
Only a year? So you found out
March of 2024. Year? Yes. Oh. Yes. This is all new. This is
what a journey.
Yeah. So I had 7 doctors.
Okay.
In between this, the 7th doctor is the one that realized that I was misdiagnosed. He told me. So I do want to set up. One of my doctors moved to Chicago.
Okay.
A new person came in, and when that happens, they research your file. And so this guy researched my file, and he was like, "Oh, there's just something missing here." And so just to let you know, on March 8th, I actually went to that's the
my
doctor.
son's birthday.
Oh, that's awesome. So my birthday is March 12th, so it was an early birthday present for me. So,
that's awesome. Best present probably ever.
Oh, it's the greatest birthday present ever. I mean, so I'm actually upset at this doctor. I actually felt like I was supposed to have gotten a blood treatment in a week prior. I actually so what I was told was the longer you wait in between these treatments, the higher chance for stroke and a heart attack you have. So I went in there, supposed to get this treatment. I can't because I have to meet this doctor first before he can actually prescribe it. Right. I go in the next week, and I'm like ready to give this guy a piece of my mind. I'm like, I'm about to just hey, I don't get this. You stressed me out. Candice, he walks in the door. He says, "This is going to be really hard for me, and it's going to be really hard for you." And I was like, how the hell is it going to be hard for you? That's what I was thinking. I was just like, what? And so he goes, "Son, I feel like you've been misdiagnosed." And he was like, "I don't believe you have this." He's like, and there was times that I did a test, or I did this bone marrow test, and he said, what did you score on that? And I was like, I had less than 1% chance of cancer. He was like, so you should have been released though 8-9 years ago. Yeah, no. And so that's the thing is and I believe this is also how I'm able to handle it the way I'm able to handle it.
Okay.
Is this doctor was just really kind, and he was just like, "Hey, I'm going to release you." He was like, "I'm going to release you," and I was like, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" So the other part of this, ever since I was diagnosed, I would hit my head on the pillow and I would wish, how can I be healthy? Think about all these opportunities I talked about. All these opportunities, the loan originator, all these things that I was given opportunities, and I was like, why would I be given opportunities and I'm not supposed, I can't take them? And so when this guy told me this, I was like, now some of this stuff makes sense. Yes. But I still was in the other part of this.
But who would know? How would you know?
But Candice, because of the shooting, I actually quit thinking about the diagnosis.
Okay.
I was thinking about, I'm dealing with PTSD and survivor's guilt. God, please take that away. I can handle the rest. I just need to be able to sleep. I need to be able to be my nervous system was shot. And so when he said that, I was like, my legs were wobbly. Okay. I was so grateful, but I was so skeptical because I was like, I don't understand. I've been through this for 18 years. How does this guy know something that other doctors didn't?
Right.
So I walk up to the front desk. A friend of mine is at the front desk, and I'd say, "You're not going to believe this. I've been misdiagnosed." And she's like, "Okay." She's like, "So how you feel?" I'm like, I don't understand. If I had documentation in my hand, I would feel better. So as I'm driving home, she calls me and says, "Hey, the doctor gave me some documentation to give you."
Wow.
So
Okay.
I also, the other thing is that the doctor told me, and I actually went a little bit too far, but he said, "I believe you have sleep apnea or COPD," and asked me if I smoke. I've never smoked a day in my life, so we knew that it was probably sleep apnea.
Wow, that's it?
Yes, and so
You
I could have been
treated for sleep apnea for 18 years.
right. I could have been perfectly healthy 2 months into it in 2006.
I can't. Wow. I can't imagine the feeling. How did you feel at that moment? Were you more relieved, or are you more like,
No, I was
still confused? Like,
very confused. I was trying to figure it out, but I was like, I
did
didn't
you
go get a
believe
second.
him at that time? Or you're probably like, really? Okay, what now?
I was 50-50 at first, and then I read the documentation, and then I was like,
Okay.
I feel like I might have got misdiagnosed. And then I started looking up misdiagnosis, and then I started looking at some different things that made me think maybe this is the way. So the next day, after I told my parents and my brother and my sister-in-law, that's really all I told. I didn't tell anyone else because I was like,
Those are the important people in your
right.
life.
I went to my core people, and I was like, I don't know if this is real. I feel like this is real, but I don't know. And so I believe it was on my birthday or the day after, on my grandpa's birthday. So March is a really crazy month. So my brother's is 11th, mine's 12th, and my grandfather's is the 13th. And so I was made an appointment, and I was like, I need a sleep apnea test, ASAP.
Okay. All
so
right.
I had taken one in 2006, but it was a home one. It wasn't a sleep center test.
Okay.
And so I made sure that it was a sleep center test, and I was like,
Wait, to 2020. Okay, you asked for the sleep apnea test when? You found out March 8th.
Yes.
So when did you ask for a sleep apnea test to confirm?
no. So I asked for one last year in 2024. I had one previously in 2006, but it was at home.
And it didn't say that you had sleep
No.
apnea.
Honestly, Candice, I
That
don't
is
know.
so
I don't have the
weird.
results from that test. I have all these medical records. I cannot find the test in 2006 to see if it was just like a hairline close or whatever.
It wasn't? You didn't have it in 2020?
So in 2006, I did not have it according to the home center test.
That is
When I
so
did it,
weird.
when I did it at the sleep center, they're like, you have severe sleep apnea. So for 20 years, my body did not hit REM.
It's divine.
Yes.
It's divine.
So
I can't believe it. How?
Candice, here's the other part.
What?
Is before I went and had the sleep center test, I was in a Zoom room with a friend, someone who's a close friend of mine now.
Okay.
Christina is a close friend of mine now. I did not know her very well at all. I didn't even know her. She invited me to a Zoom to look at some social media stuff. I go to this social media Zoom, and I don't remember what it was, but it was like they needed to know if everybody would be back during the week. And I was like, no, I'm dealing with this.
Okay.
I just said, I'm dealing with some stuff health-wise. There was a psychic in the Zoom room, and he said, my guides are telling me to tell you have been misdiagnosed. There was no one in there that would have known. Yes.
Told you that you are misdiagnosed?
Yes. And this was before I had had the sleep center test or anything. The other part is he told me, he said, because I said, yeah, I'm kind of dealing with this shooting. And he said, you saw a bright white light that day.
He knew you had a
He
shooting.
knew I had seen it.
Wow.
And so for me,
How did you feel? You're probably like, whoa.
Oh, I was blown away. I was like, how?
Okay.
And then I was like, instead of worrying about how, I should just accept this.
Right.
Let's see if I am diagnosed with sleep apnea. April 17th, I did.
All right.
A week later, I got my CPAP machine. By the second night of me sleeping on a sleep machine, I feel wonderful.
Wow. Are you still using it now?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Every night. It's my favorite thing in the world. Like, I mean, it gave me my life back, of course.
Aww.
Yes.
I'm so happy for you right now. I know you went through a lot, but I'm just happy for you. You know, it must have you. It's like a second chance in life, right?
It is. It is. But also, I look at it. It's also my first chance to really do life. To really do life the way that I want to do life.
But guess what? It's never too late.
Right.
It's never too late to start.
Same thing. Same thing with the wife and the kids. Like I can go find someone now. I can go adopt. Like I don't. It doesn't have to be maybe the traditional way.
Right,
but like, and so I feel like that's one of the things is that we get caught up in what we feel like it should be and not how it's intended to be. And so one of the other parts of this story is in 2024, I decided to heal. I didn't go out and talk. I didn't go look for the media. I just said, I want to heal. I want to make sure that I am good.
Wow.
And so in 2025, this is right.
You just probably need time for yourself just to understand what happened in my life. How am I going to move forward? How am I going to be a better person because of this? You know what I mean? Because there's so much things that happen to you.
Those
sometimes you need that, just like silence your brain, silence your body, silence your mind, so that you can just reflect and find what's left of you, like the best part of you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's so much.
And so this is what I tell people. 2024, my life was on hold. And then it created a Show Up to Win. And Show Up to Win is going to be a lifestyle brand. Yeah, Show Up to Win will be a lifestyle brand like Live Strong. That's what I feel like.
So you dedicate your life now to helping others to overcome adversity and master their mindset, right? Yes. And is this the Show Up to Win that you're talking about?
Yes, that's my signature program. But what I'm saying is that's my lifestyle.
Yes.
Like I just was saying, it went from someone who was dormant and barely moving to now someone who is like showing up with intention and killing everything in the meetings and all these opportunities. And so I'm making the most out of everything.
Now you use 2024 to heal.
Yes.
Are you okay now? Are you ready to go out there? Like, what's your next move?
Oh, so I was very fortunate. I became friends with a master hypnotist.
Okay.
And he helped me get the trauma from a high level to neutral, where I'm able to talk about it with me and you, and then I can go over here and take a nap if I wanted to.
Okay.
So I just want other people to understand, like, I went through talk therapy with the shooting, and honestly, it actually aggravated me. And so if it helps you, like, great. It didn't help me. I'd actually had really great success in the past with it. It just didn't. For some reason, it didn't work with the shooting. But the other part is, after the hypnosis, I found other healing modalities. A friend of mine, who is now one of my favorite mentors, one of my favorite people in the world, Victoria Rader. She's a quantum healer. She's a possibility coach. And so she's instilled a lot in me. And so there's some things that, like, I would just like to kind of talk about with that, is that they have a global initiative of helping 1 million people, and they've helped over 200,000 people so far with this app. And I will give you that so you can put it in the description of the podcast.
So we can share it with others.
Yes. So
Dwayne, you now dedicate your life to helping others overcome adversity and master their mindset. So what is the core message or strategy that you emphasize in your programs to help people rise above life challenges?
So I'm a very simple person. So I've created, it's called Show Up to Win. So I tell people all the time, I don't just show up, I show up to win. Like, I'm showing up with intention. The other aspect of it is I want people to understand that, like, the mindset of someone who wants to win is they show up prepared, right? And that, we talked about that previously, but I want people to show up prepared. And so Show Up to Win is where I teach people how to overcome adversity in unlikely and untimely circumstances. I feel like I'm an expert. I've been through it twice. Two very unexpected. I wasn't able to pull a book and say, hey, how do I survive this? How do I survive this? It's just not there. Right. And so for me, I couldn't find this program when I was looking for it. So I decided to create one so other people will have it. Right. And sometimes that's just part of life, is when you find out there isn't a way, you
make your own.
Right. And so that's what I did. And so I needed a community to keep me consistent.
Okay.
But I also needed a way to keep my community consistent. And so that's the reason that I created this, is everybody wins. And the other part of the Show Up to Win part is, I feel like it's a lifestyle brand. I feel like it's going to be like Live Strong, something like that. It has more to it, because there's more aspects. So like, I'm not just looking for athletes in this. I'm actually looking for ex-athletes who have lost that inner fire.
Okay.
Go through my program. Let me relight that fire so you can go on and accomplish what you are dreaming of. So whether they've been through a diagnosis, a misdiagnosis, a divorce, they can't find their way in a job, all this program will do is just let them know, hey, you were there before. Let's take some of the athletic stuff that we learned as kid and apply it to life. Right. So that's what it is. It's not super difficult. But the other thing is, Candice, I want good people. I really want good people, but I don't want minimum people. And a minimum person is one person that just wants to do the bare minimum and get the results. So to me, that's not someone I want in the program. Right. If you have that mindset, please do not check out. Okay. Because me and you are probably not going to be, I can't get you the results if you're not willing to do this. Right. The other thing is, I tell people all the time, I'm willing to do what other people are unwilling to do. And so that's the type of people I'm looking for. I'm looking for the people that are like, I'm tired of XYZ and I want those results. And so just to give you an example, when I hurt my knee and I had knee surgery, they said do 50 leg raises a day. I did 150. Okay. I want those people that above, far above, because I wanted those results that bad. Right. And that's what I want. I want people that really want the results. And so another thing, Candice, is part of my program is, it's not part of my program. It's just something else I'm working on. Okay. I'm working on this nonprofit. And this nonprofit is going to be where I talk about the financial issue that I had. And so there's a financial piece that I have, and this is going to go into the nonprofit, but I'll just share this with the people. So I have some friends of mine that own a company, a debt consolidation company. If you have $20K worth of credit card debt and you want that eliminated, they can help you. Okay. And the reason that I tell people about this company is, this company actually cares. They're a mom and pop shop. They're not a one size fits all. They actually go through. If they can't help you, they will tell you that. I am not able to help you. They're not going to take your money. That's the beautiful thing about it. That's good. And so I partnered with them because of that purpose. They are going to go above and beyond for the people. And so that's the type of companies that I like to do business with. And so I wanted to share that with your listeners, and you could find that link on the showuptowin.com website, and you'll be able to find it also on the showuptowin.info. So if the listeners get this before February 1st, when the showuptowin.com launches, you can go up to showuptowin.info, and it's the number 2. It's not it's not TO. Okay. So but that's the thing, and also, if you go in and you fill out the form for Show Up to Win, I do not require your phone number. Okay. But if you put it in, I might just reach out to you and just ask how I can be of service.
That's good. That is good. Now, quick question. Are you only supporting or helping ex-athlete, or do you also, because like I'm just thinking you could be a current athlete right now and you still want to do more than what you're doing. Can you support them at the same time? Because
Absolutely.
like their passion is probably so like, ooh, like I'm like, I feel like I can do more. Can they come to you for assist?
Absolutely. And so I actually am working with some kids, and I'm have talks right now of working with a college athlete, an athlete. And
Okay.
so, I'm working with a kid right now who's a junior in high school who's an exceptional athlete. He's an elite athlete. And so, he has that type of mindset. Like, he wants to play in the NBA. I
Okay.
have another kid who he's a football player. He wants to play on Sundays. Like,
Okay.
to get to that, you have to have something else. You also have to be working on your mental part as much as
Right.
you work on your physical. If you're not working on your mental, you're going to be left behind.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
I work with all athletes or ex-athletes, and then even if they weren't an athlete and they just need someone to show them a different type of mindset, if they're dealing
Right.
with life, I can help you. It's just the people I'm looking for are that target audience.
And it's nice to have that growth mindset that this, like, I'm capable of learning new things, other things to make me better. So it doesn't have to be just the athletic part of their life. They can, by joining a program, they can do more. Maybe they don't realize that they can be good with entrepreneurship, or they can be good with non-for-profit work or any other skills. It's always good to have a balance. It's always good to have like something to do just in case something happens, just like what you said, right? Like, we don't know what can happen to, being a sports player, so physical. Sometimes unforeseen situations happen, and you just want to be able to know that, hey, I can still do something else. So it's
Absolutely.
okay, you know what I mean? So it doesn't really crush you totally. There's something I like what you're doing, that you're providing them with other avenues to, to be successful. Just
So,
doesn't have to be one side,
right. So
one
one
thing.
thing I just want to make really clear is like,
Okay.
we had talked about, I'm a forgiving and loving person. I
Yes,
don't
you
have
are.
an issue with the doctors. I don't have an issue with the people in the police shooting. Like, I just, like, people make mistakes.
Right.
I live by grace, just like how I expect it. Like, do unto others as you do unto, as you want others to do unto you. Right. And so the other part of this is, sometimes we have to forgive.
Right.
And it's not
Aw, I
just for
like
them,
that.
it's for
I like
you.
that.
Right. And
Right.
so, just to let you know, Candice, is I'm at this point in my life where I don't feel like the shooting and the misdiagnosis happened to me.
Okay.
And so in November, I was thinking it probably happened for me, because there was no way
Right.
I would be able to meet you and get on these different levels of these podcasts. But also, like, I was not have been ready and prepared to do things with Show Up to Win. And so I had, my mentor I was telling you about, Victoria Rader. She
Right.
told me, she said, Dwayne, these things actually happen through you. She
Right.
was like, these actually happen through you, so you're able to facilitate and serve.
Right.
So other people can learn those life lessons through you, and not actually have to go through the actual thing that caused the lesson. And so that's the reason why I'm so open. I want to help people. I believe in people. And for me, if I spoke in front of 1,000 people and I
Right.
got booed off by 999 people, but I changed that one person's life, they didn't commit suicide or whatever,
Yes.
it's worth it. And I
Yes.
believe that's the thing is when you're so purpose driven,
Right.
everything is worth it. And as you know, my aspirations is to be my own podcast host, and not just be a small one, but a big one, and be
Yeah.
on all kinds of platforms. And that's the type of mentality I have.
Right.
I have
Yes.
that drive.
Why not? Why not?
Right. And so
You
that's
don't
the
want to
thing
limit.
is
Why
like,
limit yourself?
right. God allows me to be an abundant person. So why am I limiting my
Right.
God? Right. But also, here's the thing is, abundance does not mean materialistic.
No.
Right.
That positivity in you, abundance of like, and I just listening to your story and the way you spoke this tonight, two things that I learned that hopefully a lot of people will carry with them. You're full of gratitude. Like your heart is just full of gratitude. And not everybody's like that. Second, your ability to forgive. Most people would probably sue or would probably still be negative about what happened to them, whether it's the shooting or whether it's a misdiagnosis. But you're here right now forgiving them and just looking at the brighter side of life that, hey, I'm still here. I have a
Candace,
purpose. I can still
Candace,
do more.
I did look into lawsuits. They wouldn't have done anything. Like, and I'm not saying that, like, when there was the opportunity of a lawsuit, I looked into it. There was nothing to take. Like, even with the misdiagnosis, guess what?
How? Why? Why
Yes.
not?
So listen to this. The misdiagnosis, the money would have went to the insurance company because they fulfilled a false claim.
Okay.
The shooting, guess what? I couldn't
just a
find
random-
I couldn't find an attorney to represent it. And so that's the thing is, here's the thing. I realize things would happen better, and I just operated with that type of faith.
Right, right.
So I just wanted to let you know I did look at it, because if the shooting would have happened,
Yeah.
and my
And
friends,
it's a normal reaction. Like what you said,
right?
it's a
So my
normal
friends I have friends who are attorneys, but the problem was my friends were attorneys that were friends with the officer who got killed.
Oh,
So
okay.
I had conflicts of interest over conflicts of interest, so
Right,
no one
right,
could really
right.
help me.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say that I'm glad that you're okay, that despite all these challenges that you went through, look at you, very positive. Dwayne, this podcast is called Intentional Excellence, and it's really about being purposeful and intentional in our actions to achieve success. But a big part of what we discuss here is really the resilience and overcoming adversity, which is you. You. You're a true example of who is resilient and somebody who overcame adversities in his life and still managed to come out stronger and more hopeful and more purposeful with his mission in life. And I believe that everyone goes through defining moments. It could be, loss of job, a significant shift in their life. But I'm just glad that they can learn from you. Like whatever they're going through, look at Dwayne Morton. He went through more, but look at him now. He found his purpose. He found his path. And please know that there's always going to be someone you can reach out to, just like what you said a while ago. Ask for help. Ask for a friend. Ask for ways to become better, because there's always going to be somebody who can listen to you. Wait, Dwayne, any parting words, or if there's one thing that you want the audience to remember you by or with? I know you said a lot of good things. That's just one thing for them to remember you with. What would that be, Dwayne?
Yeah. So begin. Just begin.
Start now.
Yeah, just begin. And the other thing is there's two things I feel like you need to do.
Okay.
Plan and get a mentor. Either plan and get a mentor, or get a mentor and plan. Either one, you're going to be way more successful. You're going to lose less money. You're going to lose less time. But those two things can be, like I said, interchanged. Plan or mentor or plan, either way. But the other thing is the scary part is begin. You have to really, if you want something, you have to start.
Okay. And like what you said, be ready. Because when the opportunity comes, you need to be ready. I'm not going to forget what you mentioned, because that's really important. I like that. Thank you.
Yeah,
any other? So all the links that Dwayne talked about today will be shared when I introduce the podcast, when it's ready to be published. You'll get to know more. How can they reach you quickly? How can they reach you? I'm going to put the links, but briefly, how can they reach you?
So the best way to reach me is through Facebook.
Okay.
Or go through my program, go through the contact information stuff. But like as far as social right now, Facebook, I really haven't built my social. I've built it for other people. I just did not. I haven't put my stuff out there. 2024 was about healing. 2025 is to show up to win. I'm Mr. Show Up to Win. So my socials are going to blow up soon. I just haven't put them out there. And it's just, I just want those people to understand, the listeners. I'm so grateful you're here and to listen to me. But my other step is like, become better. And that makes a better community. And that better community makes a better world. That's what I want. That's what I feel like everyone should want.
Thank you. That's why you're here. I really chose you to be one of my guests. I had so many offers, but your story resonated because I know it's something that the viewers can resonate with. So Dwayne, I really just want to thank you for sharing your incredible journey and insights with us tonight. Your story will never be forgotten, and I know that it will leave a lasting impact on our listeners. I just want to say thank you. And to my viewers, thank you for tuning in to Intentional Excellence. We will continue to feature incredible guests. We have a few more days with inspiring stories to help you elevate your life. This series, Purpose Driven, Men Making a Difference, has been absolutely amazing. It continuously features men with incredible stories to share with others. And it's a reminder of the power of using our voices to inspire change. All right. So please know that if you have gone through a life experience and feel that your story can change lives, use your voice, take action, and share it. You'll never know who might be listening to you and who might learn from you. If you want to learn more about what I do, my website, CandiceRuggiero.com. Connect with me in all my social media platform, Linktree/Candice Ruggiero. Until the next time, remember to stay intentional, live with purpose, and continue striving for excellence. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Have a good night, Dwayne. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.